Come, come, whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whether you are here in person or attending online, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland. Good morning. I am Linda. Hey, sorry. I kind of started to pause. Sorry for the confusion. Good morning. I am Linda Coulter. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a worship associate at this congregation. For those of you who are new today, let me tell you about our congregation. Our congregation gathers on the original lands of the Erie and of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, also known as the Three Fires Council. We recognize the need to learn more about the complex and sometimes painful histories of the place we live, to care for the land we inhabit, and to show respect to the diverse peoples and cultures who preceded us, as well as those who gather here now. Our congregation is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations. As a Unitarian Universalist, or UU congregation, we are a non-creedal community. This means we do not require anyone to subscribe to a specific set of beliefs to be a member of the congregation. Instead, we live by a covenant that encourages ethical behaviors, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for meaning and reverence in the great mystery that is life. We are a welcoming congregation which affirms all persons who choose to participate in the life or activities of our community, regardless of color, national origin, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, or economic status. By the way, happy November, everyone. Woo! If you would like to learn more about us, please take a moment to fill out the gray card found in the pew rack in front of you. Someone will contact you to answer your questions and help you feel welcome to our community. You may also visit our website at uucleveland.org and email us from there. As we enter sacred space, please silence any audible cell phones, alarms, or other devices to avoid distractions during the service. We will be doing our chalice lighting, which is our covenant found on the yellow card. And our chalice lighter this morning is Tom Gibson. Tom will be leading our group next week that is doing lasagna mulching. It's a form of gardening. It's not eating lasagna. He made it very clear to me because I was hungry. So be sure to bring your cardboard. There will be more about that in a moment. Let's join in our voices together to read our covenant. We cultivate trust with one another by celebrating differences, honoring boundaries, and offering compassion and care. We listen to each other deeply with curiosity and wonder. We speak for ourselves without need to defend ourselves or persuade each other. We create safe and brave space for healthy conflict, creativity, and fun. We reconcile through forgiving and making amends when we hurt one another.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Randy Partain. My pronouns are they, them, and I am delighted to be with you in worship today, whether you're here in person or joining us online. Not very long ago, our Jewish siblings celebrated Yom Kippur, which is a time of atonement and repair. And we will be spending the month of November in one way or another thinking about this spiritual practice of repair. And so I invite you to hear these words from Resma Menachem. In today's America, we tend to think of healing as something binary. Either we're broken or we're healed from that brokenness. But that's not how healing operates. and it's almost never how human growth works. More often, healing and growth take place on a continuum with innumerable points between utter brokenness and total health. And so, whatever point we might be on that continuum today, may we welcome one another into this time of worship, recognizing that we all come from different places and are bringing different things into this time together. We are going to sing hymn number 53 in the gray hymnal, I Walk the Unfrequented Road, a nice autumn hymn. But first, I invite you to greet the people around you. If you see a face you don't recognize, please make a special effort today. The fruit of no one's toil, no trespasser am I, and yet I reap from every soil and from the boundless sky. I gather where I did not sow, and bind the mystic sheaf, the amber air, the rivers flow, and rustle of the leaf. A beauty springtime never knew haunts all the quiet ways, and sweeter shines the landscape through its veil of autumn haze. I face the hills, the streams, the wood, and feel with all its kin. My heart expands their fortitude.
Morning. Is that better? There we go. My name is Jenny Papp. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development in this congregation. And I...
This is a little...
So
I broke something.
Talk to you about precious things.
This is a mess. This is going to take a lot to fix, I think.
We might have to regroup.
Maybe somebody else can take care of that. I'm just going to leave that here. Thanks.
I'll have to think about that. We're going to have to fix that later. So
okay. All right.
We'll just move on.
Well, each week we do bring into this space the things that we are celebrating and the things that might be broken and in need of repair. And so we acknowledge those things in our time of sharing our joys and concerns. If you are joining us online, I invite you to put any joys or concerns you have for the congregation in the chat below the video. If you're here in person, we have a book where people can write their joys, or concerns. And we do have a few things today. First, energies and prayers of protection and clarity of vision for all participating in this election. And I'll just say, every week I share my pronouns, and I don't do that to grammatically hamper anyone, and I don't do it to make anyone feel ashamed or guilty because they get pronouns wrong. But I share my pronouns because a lot of the things about me that are a little bit off-center are invisible. My theology is invisible. My identity, I could be very invisible as far as a lot of those things go. And yet, a lot of the people in this congregation know that there is an election happening that, if it goes one way, it could tend toward criminalizing my identity and the identity of some other people in this room. So, profound in advance of this election to ensure that our democratic process is followed. I know some of you have written hundreds, if not thousands, of letters and postcards. You have been really, really on the ball getting people prepared for this election. And so thank you for representing our spiritual values in this very public way this season. And gratitude for everyone who made our Fall Flannel Fling a fun and connecting event yesterday. Our youth also had a great event afterwards. Thank you to everyone who participated and who made that possible. And love and light to the family and friends of Kristen's friend Betsy. Betsy transitioned yesterday morning in Portland, Oregon. Love and light to all of Betsy's family and friends. What else do you want to acknowledge? I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water for any joys or concerns you want to acknowledge this morning. A stone for those joys and concerns shared online today. And I feel like I should place a stone of comfort for all of those who had some kind of vicarious feelings when you looked at the broken bowl as you were coming forward, because I saw it on your face, and I feel like a stone of comfort is appropriate. And then a stone for all of those things we continue to hold in the vaults of our hearts.
To quote some bumper sticker theology, love people, cook them tasty food. It is in this spirit that today's offering will be shared with a ministry here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland, our kitchen crew. The tasty meals they prepare sustain us as we discuss both profound and mundane aspects of our congregation: stewardship, a new roof, new ovens, what to do with our steeple, and more. The sometimes difficult discussions are made easier and more fun by the work of the kitchen crew. Please place your offering, cash or check, made payable to UUCC, in the collection plate as it is passed. You may also contribute via Cash App to $UUCC 44122. Please use the memo line to indicate today's date and our plate recipient, kitchen crew.
Don't turn
This is Enough by Vanessa Rush Southern. So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us and in the world, so much to acquire: a meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job, proof we have and are enough, just around the corner of now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. We honor the limits. If your body won't do what it used to, for right now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing or can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the offering plate goes around, if you don't have money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that, I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads and cleanse all the wounds so they can heal. But oceans are big, and I am sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole some days. Rest if you must then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in pews made to hold weary lives in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough, even this, that we are enough. You are enough. Enough. For these and all the meditations of our hearts, unspoken in this hour, I say amen.
I want to tell you a story. It's a story that is told in a lot of different ways that, as far as I know, originates primarily with indigenous cultures in this continent. But it takes a lot of different forms. It's a story about a hunter who has been out doing what hunters do. He's returning home after a long day, following a familiar path, not really paying a lot of attention, trudging more than walking. His shoes are wet. But then when he gets to the clearing where his cabin stands, he is suddenly alert because he notices something. He notices blue smoke rising from the chimney. The hunter lives alone. He's not expecting company, and he knows that someone is in his home. And so he approaches the door cautiously, hoping to surprise whoever this intruder might be. And as he swings the door open, There's no one there. The fire is lit. Supper is being heated over it. Someone has laundered his clothes and mended some of them and left them neatly there for him. Someone has tidied up the place a bit. No one has ever cared for this hunter like this before in his life. He doesn't quite know what to make of it. But after checking the house, no one is there. So he tastes the food. It's good. He has supper. He relaxes. He gets up. He goes about his business the next day. And it keeps happening. He keeps coming home to experience this sense of care that no one has ever provided before. And then one day, he decides to do something that you would have done a lot sooner, which is he decides to go home early to catch this person in the act. So he goes home early. There's smoke rising from the chimney. He approaches the door and he senses something new. He hears a voice singing, a woman's voice, singing words in a language so old we don't even know how to think about it. He pushes the door open. He sees long, flowing red hair down the woman's back, and he knows the way that a hunter knows that this is fox woman dreaming. And she knows in the way that a woman knows that she is being watched. And so she says, I will be the woman of this house, in a way that does not invite argument. And the hunter says, yes, all right. And so she says, come, eat. They enjoyed the meal together. There was wine. She knew old stories. He knew riddles and jokes. They sang. It was a lovely evening. And in the morning, she was there. And it continued like this for a long time. But you need to know something about fox woman dreaming. If you know anything about a fox, you know that foxes have a pelt. And if you've ever been close to a fox, you know that that pelt has a musk to it. There is an odor about it. And when fox woman dreaming was in the cabin, she would hang her pelt over the door of the bedroom, and that musk would permeate the place. It was in everything. So she would hang it there, and it would have this sheen so that she could have her pelt dried. But the furniture and the clothing and everything in the cabin smelled of this musk. And so one day the hunter came home. They had their meal. They had their wine. And he said, "O light of my life, my dearest, sweetest companion, when you entered my life, it was as if the moon herself had come down and cast a magical glow over everything that is. I have never felt such care and love, and I would not trade that for anything in the world. But there is this one thing. Your pelt. I mean, it has an odor to it that's in everything. It's overwhelming. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I wonder if you might hang it outside." And she said, "The pelt is a part of me." So he nodded. They went on about their evening. Nothing more was said about it. Nothing more was said about it for a long time, days and weeks. Until one day, the hunter came home. Maybe he was a little more tired than usual. Maybe the day had been particularly frustrating. Maybe he had been a bit more in a bottle than would be appropriate. But he slammed his glass down a little more roughly than needed, and he said, I've told you once, get rid of the pelt. And in the morning it was gone. She was gone. The musk was gone. It was as if she had never been there. And they say, and truly so, that the hunter yet stands at the threshold of his cabin, every fiber of his being aching to smell that pelt again. That's the end of the story. It's heartbreaking. Maybe for me, I feel like it's heartbreaking because I have been both characters in that story. I have been rejected, and I've been the one doing the rejecting. And neither one is pleasant. It ends in a state of brokenness for both characters. Without repair in our lives, without a spiritual practice, a personal practice of repairing the things that break in our relationships, we live in this state of brokenness, disconnection. It's not thriving. It's not sustainable. We pretend, we make do, but that's not a state of wholeness. And it certainly is not what we would call a liberated love. And I want to note that this is not about anyone's behavior. In the story, Foxwoman Dreaming behaved in a way that was impeccably loving and impeccably received. There was nothing about her behavior that was objectionable. In our covenantal communities, we recognize that people's behavior can change. We can learn and grow. We even represent this in a value of transformation in the way that we express our Unitarian Universalist values. We are not at fixed points in terms of our behavior. We can do things differently if we need to. But the pelt in the story is a part of her identity. It's a part of who she is. Rejecting the pelt is like if our community were to reject someone's neurodivergence or someone's identity as any gender or as someone's racial experience, whatever that may be. It's a part of who they are, it's identity that gets rejected in this story. It might be difficult for us sometimes in covenantal community to distinguish behavior from identity, but it's important that we do so. We have boundaries around how we behave with one another. That's what our covenant is. We talk about how we're going to be with each other. But we don't intend for any of that, any of those boundaries, to block out people's identities, anyone's identities. But even at our best, ruptures will occur. That's what it means to be in human relationship. At least to be in any kind of deep, meaningful human relationship, ruptures are going to occur. So we need to learn how to repair. We cannot have spiritual community. We cannot have meaningful familial relationships. We cannot have meaningful relationships with our co-workers, with people in our neighborhoods, if we exist in a state of rupture and expect it to just stay that way, or to pretend that it isn't. I know there are more than two roads. We've sung about two roads today. One of those is a lonesome road that we are absolutely dependent on ourselves, and we're not going to look back over our shoulders, and we're not going to rely on anybody else, and it is lonesome for a reason. And the other road we sang about was maybe a road less traveled, an unfrequented road. There's a word that we use in everyday conversation. It's a road that is not as often taken. And that may be what repair feels like in a lot of our relationships. What is it required? What does it require of us to repair things when something is broken? Because maybe that's what liberating love looks like. So imagine a different ending to this story between the hunter and foxwoman dreaming. Imagine, if Hollywood were to do this story, if Disney were to do that story, and things were to be repaired, restored, made whole, what would it take? We can't change what's already happened. The rupture has taken place. What would it take for there to be restoration? Somebody might be thinking humility. Somebody might be thinking vulnerability to return back to a place of wounding. What else are you thinking? An apology? Did you say compromise? Validation. It's a risky business to repair things. Trust. Acceptance. Forgiveness. Man, that sounds like something in our covenant even. You all are not naming easy things. You're expecting an awful lot of these characters in this story. But you're naming the things that we need from one another. Whatever the ruptures are that happen in our relationships, any of our relationships, you're naming the very things that we need to carry back into those spaces. Trust, acceptance, not giving up who we are. None of you said either of these characters needs to be somebody different. You don't have to give up yourself and become something different in order to repair things. But we do have to give up some of our fear. It is not easy. And we're not going to talk about everything that might require today, because we've got a month. And so next week we are going to talk about Tikkun Olam, healing the world, repairing the world, and what that might look like, what piece of that we might be able to hold. But in this moment, we might just talk about repairing a plate and what that could involve. Maybe something that hasn't been named yet.
I'll try again. So, you might recall, we've had, what do we call them? An object for our monthly theme that we have available for us to kind of look at, work on, reflect on our theme, and this month is repair. And in thinking about repair, we've talked about recognizing that we're enough. Randy, and the story of Foxwoman Dreaming has been something we've been thinking about for over a month. I was thinking about some of my housemates not long ago that I had in college, and deep relationships that we had 40-some years, often flawed. We drew blood sometimes over those 40 years, but one of the things we have always been able to do that has been precious to us is to share a meal, but particularly the ritual of coffee and the aroma. And we don't get together as often as we might like, but it has been something that, from living in the same home together to now being out in the world and coming together on occasion, we can share that, the smell, the aroma, the feeling of that comfort, the never-ending pot that we have. So we were together sitting recently with our fingers wrapped around a cup and sharing that, and I noticed that my friend had taken in her own home a cup that had a large chip in it. There were plenty of cups to choose from, and I wondered why. And I asked her about it. She shared that there were, that cup was given by someone whom she'd had tumultuous relationships before, but was a good friend. She didn't know where the chip came from, but she knew where the cup came from. And that she had chosen to keep it because that cup reminded her of that person. She enjoyed having that cup and thinking about that relationship. It wasn't so broken that it couldn't still be used. There was beauty in that for her. So we have cracks. Made me think about, after that conversation, cracks and cracked spaces. Because if we have to repair something, it's broken first, right? We've got these cracked spaces, we crack our hearts. And how's that happen in our relationships? We fail, and our life is not just this unending trip to the top of the mountain full of successes, right? It's messy, and we fall on our face, and we break stuff, and we trip over each other. And maybe the next time it's not quite as awkward. But it got me to thinking about how maybe we can have some beauty that can emerge from our cracked spaces. And some of you may have heard of a Japanese art that's many hundreds of years old called kintsugi. It means golden repair. And so it takes these pieces and it puts them together. I know these two go together this way. And it puts them together and it glorifies that crack, those broken pieces, those broken parts, by infusing it with gold, precious metals, and to make it into something that is not as perfect as flawed or decrepit or ugly, but that beauty shows the natural process of the object, of our relationships, of our lives. So it's okay that you've broken my precious thing, because we can repair it and make it more beautiful. So perhaps, while we sing our next hymn, I will see what we may be able to do to repair this. And I invite you, as our month goes forward, that we will use that idea and this object to help us reflect on the beauty that we find in the broken spaces, or that we can do to fill the cracks. We'll see.
May we rise in body or spirit as we sing together hymn number 336, All My Memories of Love. think Linda is also playing part of our Tending Covenant team this morning by helping in the act of repair. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for helping.
You're welcome. I want to let you know about a couple of the opportunities for adults and teens to assist with this. There will be coffee. There will be sugary carbohydrates to keep you fueled. We're going to be building fresh soil by laying down cardboard, topsoil, and mulch, so please bring cardboard sheets. The larger the better. If you want to bring them before Saturday, there's a place out here with bricks that is holding the cardboards down. You can bring them and leave them outside the building before Saturday if you want to do that. You should arrive with work clothes and wheelbarrows and clearly marked shovels and rakes if you would like to do that. But also, we have a special request. If anybody has a flatbed truck or trailer to transport a tractor loader, please see Tom today. A tractor loader is going to make it a lot easier to fill wheelbarrows without shoveling. So, Tom, would you wave to folks one more time so that they see your lovely sweater and can identify you after the service? Next Sunday, we're going to have brunch, so please bring sides or desserts. All of those details are in the newsletter. The auction is going to be November 16th. The submission deadline for auction items is November 10th, so please keep that in mind. And on November 17th, a few Sundays out, our legacy creation team is going to have a workshop planning for your future and ours following the service, so that's open to everybody. Lots of other things happening. Please do check your newsletter for all of those events. And as we depart from this place, may we recognize that not only are we enough just as we are in this moment, but we are worthy of repair, that we do not have to remain in a state of brokenness and rupture, that we are capable of doing that work with one another so that we create something of even greater beauty than might exist before. May we be so bold. Amen, and blessed be.
That noise was not the plate breaking again. It was something else dropping that did not get broken. We will now join our voices together to extinguish the chalice with the words on the opposite side of your yellow card. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.